Hello and welcome back to the Near Futurist podcast, in which I look at the developments likely to affect our lives, both at work and personally, in, you can guess it from the title, the near future. My name is Guy Clapperton, and this time we're continuing the conversation with Manoj Chawla, developer and owner of the Studiobox, which eliminates the issue of stilted communications over video conferencing by keeping eye-to-eye contact moving. Unusually for this podcast, I've not done this before. You can catch this episode and the last on YouTube so you can see what we're talking about. But first, as always, an ad for our media training service. Do you want to sound as confident as my interviewee in this episode? If you talk to the press or other media, are you worried you'll be misquoted, or they'll just publish their story and not yours? Clapperton Media Associates can help with coaching. Drop me a note, guy@clapperton.co.uk, and we'll arrange a time for an exploratory call. Now, back to the podcast. Now, last time, and please do go back and listen if you haven't already, we looked at the issues around awkward and transactional communications online. We spoke a little bit about fatigue. We'll talk a bit more about that. And we touched on human interaction. So, Manoj, welcome back. Thanks very much for joining me again.
Thank you very much, Guy. Pleasure to be back.
Yeah, that's great. Why does virtual communication make us tired, do you think?
Well, Guy, the thing is we get energy from each other. You know what it's like. We absorb nervous energy from people, right? Anybody involved in film, media gets it. It's not just about how pretty you look, right? It's about the energy we transmit and how we interact together. Because the conversation is live, okay? So even if you're recording it, you will pick it up from the body. You know, is it slouched? Am I tired? Am I looking disengaged? What will happen if you have to look with that? That's why when you have to sit with somebody, and you're also taught, you're probably familiar with this about the concept of leading and pacing. So we pick energy from people. If it's too much, it'll go over the top. It'll not come across sincere. So we buy energy, we buy from people. And if we don't get the right vibe, then it doesn't work. So the traditional technology makes it dead. I don't know if there's a better way to put it. So it's probably, I suppose it's like you're trying to have a conversation with somebody sitting in a coffin, how much can you have a conversation? And they may look very pretty, but, they've got the makeup and all on, but you're not engaging.
Well, that took a turn. But a better comparison perhaps is something that you sent me a little while ago, which was pictures of people recording a podcast from a major national newspaper. But because they were talking to the person on the screen, they'd almost forgotten about the audience. So all you could see was the top of their heads doing that when they were talking and speaking, which is fine in audio. But I felt, as an audience member watching that, quite excluded. And I think something like this device, which enables you and me to look at each other, but people are going to be looking at us, looking at them, or appearing to look at them, is going to be much more engaging. You've mentioned broadcast. I think there's the idea that we're all now so used to people appearing in remote locations on news bulletins because they're on Zoom and their eye line's wrong. I can see this repairing that to a very large extent. What other industries do you think this sort of eye-to-eye communication?
Well, I think, look, first of all, let me digress a little bit.
Sure.
What I want to talk about is, there's a lot of talk in design about user-centric. What I've tried to do is to make the product brain-friendly. It works the way your brain does. You're not asked to do cross controls. Imagine if you had to drive like this, right? There's a natural way to work. So we have mirror neurons. We have in the brain, there's a dedicated area for recognizing faces and movements. From the time we are born with our mother, we look at that 11-inch gaze. That's how the baby got the mother's attention. And if you look at some of the brain studies, when the mother is looking at the eyes, the brain of baby sync together. So when you're trying to synchronize, the eyes, the face, the body language is the channel through which it's like the modems calibrating. So if that doesn't happen, if the brain doesn't calibrate, we're going to lose that connection. So what we've tried to do is I've gone very deep into the whole psychology of the nervous system, the body, the mirror neurons, the scan pattern. So just like a pilot is taught how to scan the dials, we scan the face.
Yeah.
When you're flying, you look at your airspeed, you look at your height indicator. And it happens in microseconds.
Mm.
So anywhere where you're going to communicate with people, it has to be brain friendly. And the brain is a cognitive miser. So work with the brain and use the body to communicate. Use the eyes to communicate. So whether you're a doctor, a therapist, a salesman, a CEO, a teacher, what is the most important thing a teacher gives? It's not content. It's the fact that they've given attention. When they nod and they say, go on, you're familiar with the green screen, you as an interviewer, what makes a good interviewer is their body language is saying, tell me more, right? I'm interested. I don't
Yes, I
know.
think you can also get an awful lot from the body language of the interviewee. I
Mhm,
remember one of my first media training sessions after the pandemic, my first one face to face. I went and saw this guy, and I realized he wasn't quite engaged. And I asked him if everything was okay, and he said, "Oh, yeah." He said he hadn't slept the night before because he'd had a migraine, but he didn't want to let me down
mhm,
because it was his first meeting after the pandemic as well. I would not have picked that up had he been just on the screen. So I would have kept
mhm.
going, and because I'd seen that, I was able to sort of go a little more quietly, take the pace a little more gently. And you have to pick up on those little things, and it is automatic for all of us, isn't it? We just pick up on it because we've been learning since the cradle, really.
Cradle, right? And you know yourself that one of the big concerns were when people were wearing masks and stuff. We lost the most important channel. Fran de Waals talks about the body channel, and it's actually the most important channel in our communication.
Mm. I completely agree. Now, let's talk about the studio box. I'll put a picture in the show notes so people can see what we're talking about, and in the comments on the YouTube channel, of course. It basically looks like a laptop, plugs into my Mac through USB-C, which powers it as well. It works like a combination of a camera and a second screen because I can both read from it and I can look at you, and I can but it's also got a camera there, on a mirror so it's picking up on me as if I'm looking straight at you. That's the main thing for me. I can look at you while I'm talking to you. Now, it almost sounds like a small move. I'm sure it's very complicated. How many iterations did you go through, and what are the big
Well,
benefits?
well, to get it to production ready, we've gone through 10 iterations and quite a number of form factors, right? So, what we tried to do in all engineering, it's about constraints, right? So you wanted the screen quality to be big enough, but low power, so it runs off your laptop, or so the power consumption is only 10. So the thing is to make it small enough, thin enough. Like the first one that we made folding was this thick, and there were wires streaming out. So one of the key things that I also wanted to do was you could imagine it sitting it in your house or office.
Hmm.
Right? Now, it's a little bit odd to get used to the fact that it's at eye level height, but it doesn't take up your desktop space. So I had certain requirements that it not take desktop space. It works with your existing stuff. It's portable enough because if you want to pack it away, it should only take 2 minutes, right? There
Yeah.
shouldn't be a lot of wires. Like if you are familiar with teleprompter technology and all, you got your HDMI cable, you got your power cable. I mean, this is as plug and go. There's no software required. Like we've shipped it without manuals.
Yeah.
So uh, we wanted to get your feedback. What was the problem, right? And we've also made it quite adjustable in terms of angles and heights and quick
Very much
release.
so. Yeah, it's
you
very
know
easy. I mean,
and and the aesthetics were extremely important because it has to feel right. So I mean, the easiest way to describe it is it looks like, if you didn't know any better, when it's folded up, you'd think it was MacBook
MacBook.
Air. So
Yeah,
it's
MacBook Air
literally
sort
the
of thing.
same size and dimensions, but lighter. And
Mm.
we made it light enough. And one of the other things that I've gotten tired is you go and buy, and then you got to buy batteries or
Mm.
something else. So when we ship it, we ship you with with a case, with the wires, with the quick release adapter, with the desktop stand. So you're not getting caught with this nickel and diming.
Mm.
Because I think we're all tired of that whole nickel and dime experience.
Yes, I think that's a very valid point. But the thing is, you do start feeling the benefits of actually talking to people face to face very quickly, uh,
Hmm.
which is um, which is very important. Now, I am a trainer as well as a podcaster, of course, and I have a vested interest in people being able to watch people while they speak because they want me to comment on their body language. But does it matter all that much to everybody else, do you think?
Well, I think it depends where you are. Obviously, there are people who sit on the autism scale, uh, but even if they're not looking at you, you need to look at them to understand what's going on.
Mm,
When somebody is in trauma, their body language will tell you their nervous state, right? So you're missing out a channel, and perhaps the most important channel. We may talk about how are you. If I asked you how you are, you will be polite and say, I'm okay or I'm fine. But
yes.
you'll pick up, was the smile forced? Was the
Mm,
body language looking hunched? Were they looking tired? And that makes all the difference because your permission to go forward in that conversation is entirely driven by you being able to read the person. So if you cannot read the person and you cannot transmit with your body, right? And as we become more disconnected, I mean, my entire purpose about this is to bring back connections with people. It's not about selling hardware,
mm,
right? It's not about, like the VCs would hate this product because there's no recurring revenue, right? And if you look at a one-off sales process, it's expensive to sell a one-piece kit type of stuff, right? Um, but the whole thing is, I feel good when you communicate. My biggest pleasure is when I ask somebody and I get a smile and they tell me they enjoy it and they're connected and they're not tired. And I hope it comes across that interest and passion about helping people connect.
it does, but you've raised a very interesting point there. How is it going to be sustainable in large quantities if the VCs are going to hate it? You've got to, in order to get it to a critical mass, there's got to be a lot of them out there, and that's where the
Well,
VCs have got to
look,
be.
if you think about it, the sales of webcams is 5 billion a year.
Hmm.
There's 200,000 teleprompters. So I don't have to wait. I mean, of course, we have lights and microphones as add-ons if you want them, but
Yeah.
you don't have to have them. I mean, you're not using it with a ring light or any of the other peripheries that we will sell. So, I mean, from zero to a million units, you think about GoPro and all. So if people spot the thing and the opportunities within it, right? Um, Sometimes you have to do what you think is right and then trust the market. And if it takes off, I mean, if we sell a million units, it's going to be a billion market. But it's not going to be there tomorrow because it's a totally new product category. When you're trying to file the trademark, what do I file it under, right?
Mm.
You're not going to wear a GoPro by putting a 35 millimeter digital camera on your head. Your neck would break, because it's as heavy as your brain, right? So
Makes
the
sense.
form
Yeah.
factor dictates the use of it, right? And if people want to connect with people, we are born with a need to connect and communicate. So I genuinely believe that there's a big market, but it will grow slowly. And that's why, for me, planting it with the right users who see genuine value is the first step. It's not about, because you go to marketing companies, oh, yeah, we're going to do a Facebook campaign, we're going to do a LinkedIn campaign and all that. I'd actually prefer, I mean, you know how fussy I am. I don't sell it to anybody with a view to sell it because these initial units are costing me 5 times what we're selling them for. But the point is that when they use it and somebody says, hey, that conversation was different. I mean, you tell me, have your customers and users felt the engagement is different?
Yes, I don't know if they've actually realized why. That's the interesting thing. I mean, I was already looking at the my old Logitech camera on top of it, perched on top of a large screen, so I did have the eye thing sorted out a bit. But I think people have noticed I'm more engaged, but of course they haven't speculated as to whether I've got a new device on the desktop or anything like that.
Hmm.
We haven't mentioned another number of the other things reasons it really works well because you it does work like an extension of your screen, so I can go Control E or so Alt E or Command E and get my script straight back up. You might have noticed the light flashing on me just slightly as the light changed. I'll do that again just so that listeners can see what I'm talking about, or viewers can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think sometimes things improve and people don't know exactly why. Do you have? It's a little bit like having the first telephone, really, in that you've got to wait until the other person has got one before
Good
you
one.
really feel the benefits. I'm just wondering how, if you had any sort of timescale as to how long you can sustain the business whilst there are a lot of us out there having the first telephone.
Well, look, I don't have all the answers, right? But if you believe in it, all I can tell you is it took me 6 years for the journey to make data dial, the internet you use today, and change the network. When I first went around, I had to go to 600 people in BT. And when I first went, they all thought I was a raving loony, right? And it's difficult to explain to people uh, that sometimes you have to believe that connection is important. And the right people, like ideally you want people to buy it in pairs.
Hmm.
So, if a top team buys it, they will see their quality of communication improve. If a podcaster buys two of these units, they can ship one to their interviewer and have it back the next day because it's one day to ship it. Next day, you get it back. So you could be doing your interviews on this rather than having to send a cameraman or go and set it up or whatever. So, the beginning stages are also where you learn, what to write in the manual, what to teach people. Uh, and there's a whole space of helping people learning how to connect again. I mean, you think about how much there is on the web, how to date somebody, how to talk to somebody, and look at the eye, and the iris goes up to show that they're interested, and are they smirking, So, but the thing is, you look for the cluster. You don't look for the singular, did the eyebrow go up, you know, uh, and you can't control your body that way. I
No.
mean, you look at any of the FBI things. So, you will tell if the conversation is authentic when you have both people. And I find that when I do my Zoom calls, people actually enjoy the calls much
Mm.
more.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm finding the same thing. That's great. Okay, Manoj, this has been really great. I wonder if you could tell me, I know it's very early days, but is there yet somewhere that people can go to find out more if they're interested?
No, we'll be putting it on Indiegogo and so on. At the moment, like I said, it's very much about stealth marketing because I get a lot of valuable information. And I think the job of an entrepreneur is to go out there and listen to his customers, see their feedback, not just try to validate. And I hope you feel in your feedback with me that I've been open about it.
Mm, very
And
much.
and I think that it's one of those things that once people get to it, they'll want other people to want. Initially I can see that whole thing of why would I want to tell other people about it? Because it's my secret sauce. But I think what they'll actually find is if they have two units and both of them are talking, it's like, do you remember when the telephone companies launched Friends and Family?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The whole idea was that if you're on the same network, you can talk to each other for free or lower cost.
Mm,
So I do hope that it'll have, and like the BC joke about, a phone by itself, it's called network effects, is useless, right? What will you do with the phone? You can use it for a paperweight. So the entire value of a product goes up the more people you can connect to, whether it's your mobile phone. So I hope that it'll have the network effects at a certain point.
Well, when you are ready to have more customers actually looking at it, when there's a website and things like that, we must do an update on this. In the meantime, Manoj Chawla, Chief Executive of Studiobox, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you for your time, Guy. It's been a pleasure.
And as always, many thanks indeed for you for listening and watching. And if you'd like to hear more like this, please do subscribe to the Near Futurist podcast on any of the platforms available, and check the website at nearfuturist.net, where you can find information on me speaking at your event or emceeing it, and of course, if you scroll down, more episodes of this podcast. That's it for the current series. See you in 2026. Thanks very much.